For many, sociology is frequently associated with endless philosophical debate, abstract literary critique, or simply a researcher's personal political opinion. Academic standards for the UGC NET and GSET treat social research as a Vaigyanik prakriya, a scientific process. This process operates with one specific objective, the systematic expansion of knowledge, known as Gyan Ka Vistar. A sociological study is not designed to entertain or to operate a commercial business. It exists to expand what we know about the social world through empirical evidence. To succeed on these exams, candidates must view research as a connected sequence of steps, a chronological system where each phase determines the next. This sequence is the research life cycle. It provides the strict chronological architecture that every researcher must follow without deviation. Understanding social research involves tracking the exact order in which a researcher constructs their study, block by block. Every study begins as a blank slate, before a single piece of data is ever collected. The first, non-negotiable step in this architecture is the selection of the problem, or samasya kachayan. Without a defined target, data collection results in meaningless noise. The problem acts as the coordinate that guides the rest of the operation. Exam questions often present data collection or research design as the starting point to catch unprepared candidates. Problem selection always comes first. Once the specific social problem is locked into place, the researcher must build a mechanism to solve it, triggering the next phase of the process. With the problem defined, the researcher requires a working theory on how to solve it. This is the hypothesis, an astayi kathan, or tentative statement. It is a temporary prediction about how reality works, waiting to be tested. A hypothesis functions through specific moving parts called variables, the independent and the dependent. The independent variable, or swatantrachar, is the standalone cause manipulated by the researcher. The dependent variable, ashritchar, is the effect, changing only when it reacts to that initial cause. If you are measuring how studying time affects exam scores, hours spent studying is your independent cause. The final exam score is the dependent effect. A hypothesis is a calculated bet on how that independent variable will impact the dependent variable. Moving straight from a hypothesis into the field to collect data risks losing total study integrity. The architecture requires an intermediate step, research design, or shodhki rubrika. This is the structural blueprint. It dictates every subsequent action, from how subjects are chosen to how data is stored. Even with a blueprint, researchers must verify their tools work in the real world before committing a full budget. This verification is handled by a pilot study. A pilot study tests survey instruments on a small, restricted scale. Its purpose is identifying flaws in the methodology before the main study ever launches. Research design and pilot studies act as final defensive walls, preventing flawed methodologies from reaching the field. Sociology faces a logistical constraint. It is impossible to interview an entire national population for a single study. The solution is sampling, or pratichayan, the process of selecting a manageable fraction of a population to represent the whole. This leads to a primary division found on many exams, probability versus non-probability sampling. In probability sampling, every unit in the population has a calculable mathematical chance of being selected, which eliminates human bias. Simple random sampling is the clearest example of this mathematical approach. Non-probability sampling relies on the researcher's judgment, intent, or convenience to select subjects. When a researcher needs subjects with highly specific traits, purposive sampling is used to target exact profiles. The choice between these two systems determines whether the results can be generalized to the entire world or only to the specific group studied. The pipeline now reaches the execution phase, the actual gathering of facts, or tatyasangra. Researchers distinguish between primary data, collected firsthand, and secondary data, which already exists in existing records. Government census reports are a standard source of secondary data. For broad quantitative primary research, the questionnaire serves as the primary tool for mass data collection. Qualitative research employs tools like participant observation and case studies to gain granular focus on a single subject or community. If data is in written documents, researchers use content analysis to extract metrics from those materials. These tools are specialized. Using a questionnaire for a qualitative deep dive or a case study for a national demographic survey, compromises the scientific integrity of the study. The study is finished and the data is collected, but how does the academic community confirm that this data is accurate? To confirm the study is sound, it must pass two diagnostic tests. Reliability, or sthirtha, measures stability. If you run the exact same study a second time, do you get repeatable results? Validity, or mapen ki shuddha, measures the accuracy of the tool. It asks whether the instrument actually measured the specific reality it intended to measure. As the targets show, a methodology can be highly reliable, producing the same results every time, while being completely invalid by missing the truth. Scientific rigor requires both. Navigating the UGC NET then GSET necessitates a grasp of this entire architecture, moving from the first problem selection to the final test of validity, to distinguish rigorous sociology from speculation.